First ODI of a World Cup here, and India have ticked a lot of boxes. It went on a little longer than they would have imagined when Sri Lanka had slid to 206 for 8 in the 38th over, but at the end, a comprehensive 67-run win set up by a big batting performance with the top order showing their might, and then a good display by the fast bowlers as well. Welcome to ESPN Cricket Info Match Day. We've got Farveez, Maharoof, and Wasim Jaffer here with us. Wasim, the match went on a lot longer thanks to Dasun Shanaka's brilliant batting at the end. We'll come to that a little later. But the headline from the first innings, of course, was that Virat Kohli has got back-to-back ODI hundreds. Waited 25 innings in 3 years for from 43 to 44. Second one's come around real quick. Had his chances, two drop catches, but you'd say that was quite a fine innings.
It was indeed a fine inning. There's no doubt about it. And when Virat Kohli comes into form, we kind of know that he carries that form not just for few innings, but for the years. So hopefully that happens from India's perspective. And it was a sublime inning. Always more than a run a ball, almost striking at 120 strike rate, which is good. I mean, all along Indian innings, carried on with a lot of aggressive approach, which was good to see even though the wicket was pretty good, but everyone batted. Only one guy got 100, but everyone batted with that aggressive approach, which was good to see. But Virat Kohli being Virat Kohli, like I said, when he comes into form, he's very, very hard to stop. And I'm glad to see because he's got a lot of catching up to do for the last 2, 3 years that, he's had a few dull season, which was, kind of expected because kind of runs that he's been making for so many years. But hopefully we'll see the best of him in 2023.
Yeah, that would be good timing for Indian cricket if Virat Kohli decides to boss ODIs in the year of an ODI World Cup. Farvez, they say you make your own luck. Through this 2 3 year passage where he went without a century, well debated, well documented, he seemed to find a lot of things happen to him. Bowlers bowling their best balls, fielders taking blinders, hitting direct hits. But now that the tide has turned, you see these drop catches. You see the form making the form showing up and then the element of luck as well. Is this when, as a cricketer, you start feeling that yes, the tide has turned and this is my time right now?
I think every professional sportsman go through that. I mean, not only Virat. I mean, if I speak about Virat, he has raised the bar. He has raised the standards so much. Sometimes for him to maintain itself, it's going to be hard. I mean, we understand. Anyway, he's a human being as well. He's going through a rough patch. He went through it. He learned his lesson. Now it's time to counter that. 2 years of not much of runs. Now it's time. The World Cup here in India to make use of it. So I reckon that's where Virat stands far above of all the cricketers. How I see it, the way he trains, the way he looks after himself is just matter of time where he will get into form and he deserves the luck. I mean, yes, Kusal Mendis, Dasun Chanaka, the captain, vice captain, dropped two catches, but in the end, a batsman deserves the luck when they are batting well, and what Virat does well when he gets a chance he doesn't let others take over. He wants to finish it off. So that's a hallmark of a great player. And I reckon he's only 34. He'll at least have another 5 to 6 good years of him if he keeps fit the way he is. So I reckon most of the records will be broken in time to come.
Well, 5 to 6 years might mean a lot more than just 50 centuries, which seems to be what most of the internet is discussing when he'll get to. But Wasim, talking from the Indian batting perspective on the whole, like you mentioned, everyone scored at a fast clip. This is obviously going to be such an important discussion point for India in these 10 months leading up to the World Cup. You often feel that India is the kind of team which would be very safe to get 300, but not necessarily always the kind of team which will go beyond 350, make 400 as regular an occurrence as England have made in the last few years in ODIs. So, in that sense, a great starting step in this year leading up to a World Cup.
I think it was a good approach. Rohit Sharma leading from the front. You don't see Rohit Sharma actually batting like that. He does that in T20s nowadays. He's taken that template upon himself. But even in one-day cricket, which is good to see. And when you want to compete against teams like England, Australia, you need to play at that fast clip, and it's a good thing. Even Shubman Gill, Rohit Sharma, Virat Kohli being Virat Kohli, and every other guy batted at quite a decent strike rate, which is good to see. And you need to target 350 most of the time. So when you play on wickets like this, you need to look at 350 being your target and not 280 or 300. So, which is good to see.
Yes, and like Wasim mentioned, this was one of Rohit's fastest knocks in the last few years. It's Virat Kohli's fastest century he scored in the last 5 years. Farveez, when you think of it from an opposition point of view, you know that India's 4, 5, 6 are likelier to get their runs at a fast clip. In the last few years, the thing teams might have looked to play upon was the fact that the top order takes its time to get in. Now, if India start operating this way, where you've got 5 or 6 batters scoring at a fast clip, how much more difficult does it become to set up as a bowling attack against them?
Yeah, teams like India, when you have a top heavy batting lineup like India, it's always important to take wickets with the new ball. If you don't take wickets, if you go to the middle order without no wickets fallen, that's trouble for you because you got Virat Kohli coming at three, you got Shreyas Iyer is coming at four, KL Rahul at five. They will walk into any team in the world. So those kind of world class players, so they will damage you more of than not. So important with the new ball, strike with it and keep on the pressure. That's how we saw during the T20 series when Sri Lanka pick up wickets with the new ball. The troubles was seen with the top order. So Sri Lanka to come back at all in this series with the new ball, I think that has to be capitalized. At least one or two wickets to put the pressure on the batsman. If not, if Sri Lanka does not manage to take any wickets, more trouble I see.
Now, in this kind of condition, Farvez, where you know that there wasn't much going on for the bowlers in Guwahati, what do you think they could have done differently today? They were obviously hit by that injury to Madhushanka, who'd done a decent job bowling 6 overs on debut, but then they knew they'd lost him. Would you have done things much differently to what Shanaka eventually did through that innings?
I think when it comes to the pitch, it was so good for batting. I mean, on the up, it was so easy to score runs. But I reckon in the first 6 overs, possibly there was too many boundary balls, too many boundaries were hit score of the wicket. So that's a bit of a concern. When you have a new ball, two new balls when they're swinging, and you have a strong batting order like India, it's always important to take wickets up front. You try and risk it by pitching it up at least, not giving those freebies. So I reckon that's where India was left off the hook. They were given too many boundary balls, score of the wicket, and then from there onwards, with the class of the middle order, it was matter of time. They will dictate terms in the Sri Lankan attack, and also Varun Dilshan Marsanka. I mean, yeah, he could have been a great option in the death overs, saying that Kasun Radit has to bowl, I think 5 or 6 overs on the trot in the death, which is not easy. So I reckon Kasun Radit, the figures may say is more than 80 runs in 10 overs, but nowhere near he bowled that bad. He bowled well, but just that a couple of chances were dropped, and then he had to bowl 6 overs in the death overs, which was pretty unfair. But saying that Dasun Chanaka had no choice but to bowl in because of Dilshan's injury.
And credit to Rajata, like you said, did concede 83. But if you look at those 3 wickets, getting KL Rahul, getting Hardik Pandya, and even Virat Kohli towards the end, it might have been the difference between a 400 plus total potentially for India. India did eventually end with 373, which did prove enough at the end. But before we get into the Sri Lanka innings, I want to talk to you about one of the major talking points from this game, which came before a ball was bowled, because you realize that a man who'd hit a double hundred in the last ODI India played did not find a spot in India's playing 11. Wasim, now India have scored 373 and things have looked good. But tell me, did you agree or not with the decision? I think we know your answer.
Well, I think it's a long debate, Yash. I mean, first of all, Ishan Kishan, in my opinion, shouldn't have played in that series. Shubman Gill being the third opener. He was the third opener slated. He should have gone in that Bangladesh series. So he was rested, and Ishan Kishan got an opportunity, and he made the most of it. But again, Indian team went back to Shubman Gill, saying that they want to. Uh, Keep playing the team that which were selected before, or probably the first option guys like KL Rahul or even Shubman Gill. I totally understand that, but I feel hard done by for Ishan Kishan. Somebody who's got a double hundred, which doesn't happen. He had to sit out. So somewhere, like I said, time and again. So India need to chalk out those 15, 17, 18 players and keep playing them, because this is a World Cup year. You don't need to make your first 11 players sit out or rest them, because the time's coming close. India is not playing more than 15, 18, 21 days. I think the best 11 needs to play those 20, 20, 20 odd one days, to make sure that they're raring to go, their rhythm is fine. You don't want them to sit at this time when the World Cup is so close.
I'm grateful you started by putting that wider perspective, Wasim, because while obviously it's easy to know that Kishan scored 210 against Bangladesh in that last ODI, Shubman Gill too has had a very consistent 2022. Now, Farvez, I know we usually talk about this as a great luxury to have, that you've got so many players who can walk in, but you've seen the perils of that with India oftentimes not settling on that best 11 heading into World Cups, even though it might have been T20 World Cups in the last couple of years. Uh, Tell me the player's perspective on this. When you're sitting on the bench, usually you're told you get it. If you're knocking on the door, keep knocking harder. When you score a double hundred, you've probably broken the door down. You've kicked it down. How do you pick yourself up as a player, thinking that even a double hundred wasn't enough to keep me in the team?
I mean, definitely hard done by guy getting a double hundred and not getting a chance again is definitely a heartbreaker. But I understand being a professional's point of view that the consistency, you have to take it forward. Yes, Shubman Gill was rested, which is another debate. Would he have been good off, better off being rested for tour? So that's another debate. But if we have done that, the bowler who has sorry, beg your pardon, the batsman who have done well definitely have to come and get his place back. So I understand from that point, and it just goes to show the wider group of players which this country has it. So it's a luxury to have, and also Surya Kumar Yadav, who has been batting really well, red hot form, but still can't get a place in this team, which I understand. ODI cricket and T20 cricket is far away, but most of the other countries, I reckon Surya and Ishan Kishan would have walked into the team. So that's how strong, that's how competitive this Indian team is, and also strongly agree with Wasim what he said about players continuing to play without any breaks. That is very, very important for a consistent team to perform. Yes, the bowlers can be rotated depending on their workload, but I reckon batsmen just have to keep playing, especially when you have a World Cup at home, which has to be probably win it at home. So I reckon going forward, if India can do that with this batting lineup, with the cartel of the fast bowlers what they have, I mean one strong team for sure.
Yeah, you got to feel for the selectors and the team management at times. It's really not an easy job. Now let's get our focus back onto the game. Now in the second innings, Wasim, what did you make of India's bowling? They played three fast bowlers, and all three of them played a part. Siraj continuing to impress with the new ball. Shami got an important breakthrough in Dhananjay De Silva, and Umran Malik continues to keep getting wickets in this white ball series against Sri Lanka.
Yeah, I think Siraj was pick of the bowlers, especially in the first part. I thought those couple of wickets actually dented the progress of Sri Lanka, especially the Kusal Mendes in swinger. I thought he set him up really really nicely. Even Avishka Fernando, bowling him that close line and then away swinger outside off stump, which he likes to play in the mid wicket or square leg region. So I thought he was pick of the bowlers in the first half. Then Mohammad Shami being Mohammad Shami, he bowled really really well, and Umran Malik continues to impress. I thought his line and lengths have improved considerably. You know, uh, and a potent attack. Three guys bowling at you all the time, 140 plus, is a luxury to have. So I feel the bowlers have done really well. I thought spinners also bowled well. It was a good wicket to bat on, but I thought they put on a good show until Shanaka, obviously, thorn in the flesh for Indian team, again batted beautifully. But other than that, I thought the Indian bowlers did a very good job.
Yes, let's talk about Dasun Shanaka, shall we? Seems to be a common factor to all shows we do. If it's a white ball game involving Sri Lanka and India, we will talk about Dasun Shanaka, the batter. You look at the scorecard later and you'll feel like Sri Lanka made a fair fight of it, got to 300 plus, might have been a close game, but it seemed dead in the water. 200 for 8. You thought it's an early finish. But Farveez, Dasun Shanaka, this kind of form, this kind of hitting, it's just magnificent.
Yeah, hard to describe in words the red hot form he is in. I mean, he's just hit a purple patch where everything seems to be what he touches turns to be gold now. So I reckon Sangakkara was saying in the commentary that he should be going up the order, which I feel maybe one spot if he can do that, especially players in form you want to face much more deliveries as possible. So that's an option Sri Lanka can look into. Not too far. Probably number 5 for me is ideal for Dasun Shanaka. So I reckon going forward, if Sri Lanka to come back in this series to have any hopes, Dasun Shanaka, the batsman, will play a big role, and you hope that the fast bowlers will make early inroads to the Indian batting lineup. So that's how I look at it for the next two games. How to beat this Indian team.
All right. While Dasun Chanaka was getting to that 100 and the game was petering out to its conclusion, came a moment which got a lot of eyeballs. Mohammad Shami attempting a run out at the non-striker's end, even carrying it off, but then India withdrawing the appeal. First thoughts from both of you gentlemen about that. Let's start with you, Wasim.
Well, I thought if the game was on the line, probably they wouldn't have withdrawn it, because it was the last over. India had, game dead and buried. They could have just said that, it's kind of a warning. But I'm pretty sure that if the game was on the line, 3 balls, 7, 8 runs to win, India wouldn't have done that. So, it's a tricky one. Players, do get serious when the game's on the line, but I understand that why they withdrew the appeal.
But then, Wasim, if I could interject there, there is so much talk in recent times about doing all that can be done to destigmatize all the talk around this non-striker run out. Right, we seem to be back on. I think that apologies from my side, technical difficulties on my end as we were approaching a technically difficult conversation in cricket. So let's just bring that back again. Wasi, India pulled out their appeal for that non-strikers run out in the last over. So much conversation in cricket in recent times has been around how you destigmatize all the talk around the non-strikers run out, be it even the naming of the dismissal. When a team as high profile as India, with as many viewers watching as they do in their games, do this, does it work against whatever moves are happening to normalize this mode of dismissal in cricket?
I mean, this is a tricky one. It's not the kind of dismissal you want to do, given a choice. But again, a batsman cannot get ahead of his line. He needs to stay in the line. He can get out. Even when the bowler is bowling, you don't need to get out at the strikers end. You could get out at the non-strikers end as well. So he needs to be aware. But I think the fielding team has that choice whether they want to go ahead with the appeal or they want to withdraw it. I think India did withdraw it, like I said, because India, were winning the game, and it wouldn't have been in a good taste. Had they gone ahead with the appeal, somebody batting on 98, it kind of, would have felt like a bad taste in the mouth. So I understand that they could have just taken it as a first warning, which you normally, do when somebody is doing that. But even without giving a warning, you can get the other guy run out as well. The law says that you need to stay in the line. But I totally understand that, but there needs to be consistency from even the players also. So, it's a tricky one.
I'm glad Wasim said that, Farveez, because regardless of match situation, if a bowler oversteps, it's a no ball, whether it's the last ball with 5 to win or the last ball with 100 to win. So, where do you stand on the consistency of how teams carry out this dismissal if they wish to carry it?
I think there's no doubt, nothing wrong in taking it out. I mean, few years down the line, yes, you've won the batsman once, and if he does second time, you take the bails off. But nowadays, the rules are quite strict, and rules clearly says that if the batsman is ahead of the line, you can take the bails off, and you're out. I mean, that's where the spirit of the game and all these things comes into play. So I reckon the batsman has to be much more smarter, much more wary. As you said, if a no ball can be bowled in the last ball or the last two balls, an umpire can call it. I mean, this also, everything cannot go to the same side. So I reckon batsman has to take a lot of responsibility, and I'm glad that India did it. As both of you all said, in case if India had taken it, Dasun Sanak on 98, that would have spurred and that would have made wrong headlines for tomorrow morning's papers and websites. So I'm glad India did it. But in the end of the day, nowadays the rules have changed clearly, so batsmen have to be more responsible of not leaving their crease bit too early.
Yeah, in the interest of us getting talking points, it's one of my wishes for this year, for a big World Cup game to see something of this sort happen at a decisive moment, and for us to then see which team takes what line and which team doesn't cross the line. But okay, enough on the first ODI. Let's set up the second ODI between India and Sri Lanka with Farveez, Maharoof, and Wasim Jaffer. Farveez, first question to you. It took a special Dasun Shanaka effort to get Sri Lanka to a respectable total, to get them beyond 300. Could have been a huge margin of defeat otherwise. What do you want to see Sri Lanka change in this second game in Kolkata?
I think there'll be a force change with Dilshan Madhushankar's injury. So I reckon either Lairu Kumar or Pramod Madhushan will play. I mean, depending on the surface, if it's nice bounce and carry through for a fast ball, I think Lairu Kumar will get the nod ahead of Pramod Madhushan. So that's a force change. On the batting front, I mean, just a one game. I mean, I would love to see some changes, but still I'll give it a go when it comes to this batting lineup, and probably have Dasun Chana coming at number 5 and getting a better coming at number 6. And when a player is in form, get him to play much deliveries as possible. So that's the only change I would look at it. And when it comes to the batting lineup, I'll stick to the same.
Wasim, from an India perspective, I'm expecting you don't foresee any changes. What should the targets be for this from the second ODI?
Well, I think India obviously will probably go unchanged, from my point. But the only worry I'm seeing in this team is India have got three brilliant fast bowlers and one spinner, which is Yajwinder Chahal. All four of them can't bat. When the game's on the line, even today, they got in the last 3 overs they only got 17 because Siraj and Shami were batting. So that's the area of concern. You want at least somebody to hold a bat at number 8. If India is chasing, if you're chasing, close to 8, 10, 10 and over, and with Shami and Siraj at 8, 9, there's a concern. But how do you do that? That's the difficult one. But other than that, three fast bowlers, two, Akshar Patel has been a royalty. I mean, him batting the way he's batting, and probably Jadeja coming in. But my only concern is nobody to bat at number 8, and not every time we'll get a batting display like today. So how India can fix that, since it's a World Cup year? So that's my area of concern for the broader thinking.
So, if I may ask you, if India were to change that, the only possible alternative you'd imagine is Washington Sundar. But if you want to play three fast bowlers plus Hardik Pandya, that means Yuzvendra Chahal sitting out. Is that something you would look to do?
No, I mean, Yajwinder Chahal, you would like to see, even Kuldeep Yadav for that matter. I've been saying that for a long time. Kuldeep Yadav needs to play. He's somebody who's always sitting out. If India needs to make a change, Kuldeep Yadav is the only one who sits out. I like to see him in the ODI setup as well, but probably somebody like Shardul Thakur, or maybe somebody who can hold a bat and give you that 10 overs. That's my only thing. Even Washington Sundar, if India can get him in, and Hardik Pandya, if he can go through the 10 overs, because the World Cup is played in India. There will be batting conditions, and India needs somebody to hold a bat at number 8. Your batting can't finish at number 7. That's my only concern.
If
Right.
I may add one thing, with Hardik Pandya, if he can bowl 10 overs, that means another batter can play. I mean, you can drop a fast ball and bring Hardik Pandya as a third seamer. Two seamers, Hardik Pandya, Yuzi Chahal, and Akshar Patel. So that's a luxury India can have even more if Hardik Pandya bowl is 10 overs. So if that's the change that you like to have, and also you like to have Shardul Thakur in the setup, because he's an also a good all rounder just like Hardik Pandya. So I reckon nowadays Hardik Pandya is a batting all rounder who bowls. Shardul Thakur is a bowling all rounder who bats very well, number 7 and 8. So that's another luxury. If he can be around the system, I think he could be useful as well.
Thanks for adding more names into the hat, Farveez, as if India's think tank didn't have enough selection puzzles to deal with. We'll see. We'll see. We'll leave it to that, and we'll see what Team India line up with in that second ODI. And that will wrap it from us from this first eventful first ODI of the year for India and Sri Lanka in Guwahati. Wasim, Farveez, thank you as always for your time. Look forward to your company. Quick turnaround this time. Just about 48 hours from now, we'll be back here at the end of the second game. Be sure to join us on ESPN Cricket for Match Day. Thanks for your time.